Hello everyone and welcome to the bestest, most bestest films with Munch Media. My name is Ralph and joining me to discuss the bestest, most bestest films, Arran.
Your movie taste shit. Fuck you.
I'll fucking fight you.
Oh no, I was directing that at the audience.
No, don't do that. No, if you dear audience have a subpar movie taste, maybe you'll come away from this with some awesome things to check out, because me and Arran are going to run down our top 10s.
Yes, yeah.
And then after that we're going to have a look over them and see what the current themes are going through them, or if there's anything that stands out or is missing. But yeah, tell you what, right, Arran, to start us off, why don't you rapid fire take us through your top 10?
Right, starting off with number 10, we have No Country for Old Men. One of my more recent entries onto my list, but loved it. Absolutely great. Very, very grim. Number 9, The Bridge on the River Kwai. I always try and say it by its proper name rather than over the River Kwai. Common mistake.
Yeah, that always really annoys me.
Number 8, Spirited Away, classic. Number 7, The Big Lebowski. Number 5, Vertigo.
Whoops, 6. You missed out 6.
Wait, did I? Sorry? Oh,
yeah.
Fuck, my bad, sorry. No, 6, Vertigo's number 6. 5, Casablanca. 4, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. 3, 12 Angry Men. 2, The Shining. And number 1, 2001, A Space Odyssey. There we go.
Nice.
Now, I must invite you to give yours.
It's a very good list.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Number 10, Alien.
Oh,
number 9.
Nice.
That's a good reaction to Alien. Oh,
I like Alien.
Number 9, Waltz with Bashir. Number 8, Hunger. Number 7, Aeroplane.
Oh, Aeroplane.
Yeah, I couldn't miss it. Number 6, Lady Vengeance. Number 5, Tyrannosaur.
Oh, you let me borrow that.
Yeah, I gave it to you on a Blu-ray. Have you watched it?
I've not watched it, no. I was actually going to watch Stoker first.
Stoker, same director as Lady Vengeance, Park Chan-wook.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, both of those are fucking great films. Number 4, All the President's Men. Number 3 is kind of a cheat because I've got 2 films on here, but they're from the same director, and I couldn't figure out which one I wanted. So Solaris and Andrei Rublev kind of joint.
Okay.
They're really similar, and I couldn't figure out which one should go there. So I know that's cheating.
Fair enough. This is our list anyway.
This is our list. Yeah. And then number 2, The Fog of War, and number 1, Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford.
I especially look forward to eventually watching that because I looked it up after you first mentioned it. But anyway, sorry,
No, it's cool. So yeah, what do you think? Is there a
any
through
running
line
themes
in your top? Is there something you can look at in your top 10 and say, these match up in some way? Is there a thematic thing that runs through them all? Is there a particular theme about them? Is there a style that kind of matches with them?
I've learned to I appreciate a lot of films that are dark and that don't necessarily follow normal stuff in films, because look at Hollywood blockbusters and fucking anything starring Tom Cruise or whatever. Explosions, and he gets the girl at the end, and it's all magnificent. And
hey man, Tom Cruise is in Magnolia, and that film is spectacular.
I've not seen it, but I'll make a note of it.
Paul Thomas Anderson.
Not bashing Tom Cruise or anything, but I mean,
no,
come on, he was going to sign on to the Dark Universe movies.
You should always bash Tom Cruise.
Scientologists, wait, we're going to be assassinated now. Damn it! Fuck.
Maybe.
So, but yeah, I have an appreciation for films that basically don't go the normal route. I'm sure many people do, but I'd say my first, my number 10, No Country for Old Men, definitely quite dark. I'm not sure about the other films. I wouldn't go as far as saying, I don't know, Casablanca was exactly the darkest film ever, but maybe The Shining, 2001 to an extent.
There's kind of like a through line with your films, where it's not necessarily that they're like overly dark, but just saying like No Country for Old Men and, you know, The Shining and 2001, with quite a few of the films there's like this kind of underlying threat. Like the movie has this threatening force that is kind of working in the background in quite a few of them. And I guess in a way Casablanca, because the threat is like World War II.
Even though it's really comical at times how they're like, I don't know, kind of like, we're going to stick it to these Nazis, fuck them, they're going to go and sing like, you know, French war songs or whatever in their faces.
That would get you shot if you did it to the wrong person.
Oh, yeah. But they were in Casablanca, so it's fine. They can't. The Germans are powerless there. They can't do anything. Well, I mean, they eventually try to, but sorry, we're going into spoiler territory.
Spoilers for World War II. Eventually, the Germans invaded North Africa.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It's kind of hard to pin down like an underlying thing with mine because there's definitely like this one almost single entity that seems to be like the antagonist in like No Country for Old Men. It's Chigga. I've said that right. The Shining, you've kind of got, you know, the Overlook Hotel itself and the spirits that inhabit it, you know, torture like the family there. 2001, it's strange because, you know, it's arguably like the unseen aliens, kind of similar to the ghosts in like The Shining or HAL 9000. And you like this. It's I think it was Roger Ebert argued that HAL actually behaves more human-like than the actual people aboard the Discovery 1, which is really interesting because he kind of does, especially when he's being switched off. He's kind of pleading for his life, although the way I took that is, he's an artificial intelligence, he's very clever. He's trying to play on human emotions in a last-minute attempt to try and stop Dave Bowman from switching him off.
Yeah, and by like singing the, it's not a nursery rhyme.
Daisy.
What is?
It's just.
Is it a nursery rhyme?
I honestly don't know. I think it is. It's an old song anyway, but it's definitely manipulative though.
Yeah, it's like with your theory with that, him singing, you know, Daisy, Daisy, says to me that he's trying to act like a human by going into like a comfort mode.
Yeah, it's almost like
trying to like be personal, but because he's a machine, he like gets it wrong, and it comes across as being like really unnerving and quite creepy.
No, it doesn't actually. It's almost like to me, it works very well. Not well enough to actually work, but it's you can actually see Dave Bowman, you know, his reaction whilst he's switching HAL off. Like he's almost murdering someone. Of course, you know, he realizes he has to, and I think it was mentioned in like the character description before the actor signed on. Kia Dula, I think that's how you pronounce it. That like he's a military guy who's been trained to be very like resilient and stuff. I don't know, kind of like an army general or sergeant or something like that, to that effect. And that's why, you know, he kind of doesn't back down at all, which is kind of interesting because it plays into like Ebert's theory of, analysis of like how human HAL is compared to actual humans aboard the Discovery 1. But despite seeming human and stuff, I think it's a last minute ploy. Because if you think logically, like a machine though, is it logical to give up? Like, is there any kind of acceptable circumstance to give up in that situation? Surely it could realize it could potentially play on the emotions of a human to perhaps save itself by appealing to someone's humanity, which is very interesting. But maybe I'm just being a cynical like cunt, and everyone's evil and out for themselves or whatever. Especially in machines.
In a Stanley Kubrick film, that's almost always the case.
Yeah.
Now, another thing about your films that's kind of sticking out to me, I'm just kind of starting to realize, is that the location that each of these films take place in plays a massive role in the film. And I'm like, films obviously have to have locations and all that kind of stuff, but something I've noticed with quite a few of yours is that the location of the film is integral to it.
Yeah.
And not just in terms of like plot, but thematics. It's like, obviously you've got like Bridge over the River Kwai, which is, entirely centered around this single bridge that everyone's trying to build. That's the main driving force of the film. 2001, like the drama of that film couldn't happen outside of that spaceship, and it couldn't happen in the way it happens.
That's
like Big Lebowski is like very much an LA film, and then things like No Country for Old Men is massively tied into like the wilderness of like the Texas kind of wasteland.
Yeah, it's almost like I don't know, I wouldn't say discount like cowboy film, but it certainly kind of feels like that, but much darker.
It's definitely like a modern western.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Spirited Away. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. The bathhouse.
Bathhouse. Yeah. Big. Sorry, we've already touched that. Vertigo. I wouldn't say Vertigo really has like a co-location. Maybe like the bell tower kind of place that they come back to.
Like that's a key location, but like that's not.
It's not integral.
So what I'm saying about the other films is like those locations like tie in very strongly to the feeling of the film and to the like not only the plots but the tone of the piece. Vertigo is definitely one that doesn't quite have, like Vertigo could be set in New York, like it doesn't matter, like that story isn't about the place it's in, it's about the characters. But in all of his other films, the location affects the characters in some way, either through what circumstances they find themselves in or what their goals are and what they're feeling. Is there like something about locations in films that means something to you? Is there like a
location? I don't suppose I've really thought about it too much. Maybe it's just something that's been going on in the background of my head. I don't know. I think it's maybe the I don't think so, but if I had to say something about locations, I think it feels more personal to have your film take place in like the same kind of stretch of land or area, or maybe even the same place throughout the course of an entire film and still be entertaining. Because then it has to be carried by something else, like say for example like The Shining, the characters and just some of the stuff in the background of the Overlook Hotel. Granted, it isn't like one room, it's a massive like hotel. What was it, 2001? You're kind of always like in each one of the arcs, you're always in this claustrophobic place. I mean, with the exception of the whole of fucking space, but I mean, like, say for example, like the Discovery one, the space station. You've also got like the single room at the end. Other than that, though, I don't think that I don't know, I'd pick them on location, but certainly like for a lot of these, location is definitely intrinsically woven into the plot and stuff.
Is there any film in your top 10 that like stands out to you, like that's very different from the rest, is the kind of the outlier?
Well, let me think. I was just going to make a point, but it was really fucking stupid now that I realise it. I was going to say,
go on.
I was going to say something along the lines of, I noticed this need to overcome, like, I don't know, some sort of threat or danger or something. But that's literally every movie ever. It's like,
there's an obstacle I've got to go.
Then you don't have
an antagonist.
Yeah, maybe like some weird art house film where people just sit and like, I don't know, pat their hands together for like 2 hours straight. But
Dinner with Andre.
What?
Dinner with Andre.
I can't say I've heard.
Oh, it's an amazing
With
film.
pleasure.
It's just two people having dinner in a restaurant.
I mean, is it a good movie? Is it a bad movie? Is it
Oh, it's fucking spectacular.
and it's two people having dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's just two people having dinner. It's a conversation.
But-
It's amazing.
But surely there still must be some sort of like thing to overcome. Like maybe one of them like offends the other one, or like the bill
No, they're just like having the bill.
arguing. Yeah. Oh no, you must get it. I mean, oh sorry, I'll take it. Oh,
The whole film is them just being like, "Do you have a quarter?" Fuck.
oh no, damn it, I don't have enough to tip the waitress because it's mandatory in
Yeah.
America.
What do you mean you weren't going to tip the waitress? And then it cuts and leads into Reservoir Dogs.
Smallest violin. Oh, brilliant. No, I think my top 10 list is just kind of all over the place. Generally, like, I don't know, like big hailed films that like everyone loves. I'm a bit generic in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if generic's the right word. It's like even though not all the films are, particularly old. Things like No Country for Old Men is, I think, the most recent on that list. I might have it wrong.
I think you're right. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, 2007, I think. Oh, looking at my list, I think that's... Oh, no, I have one from 2008. But, yeah, I can look at your list and say, like, they're all, like, established forces in film. Like, you've got films there from, like, classic filmmakers and, like David Lean and then, Stanley Kubrick. Like, your films are... Your top 10 is made by people who are, like, bloody good at what they do. Like, your top 10 is from directors who are masters in their class.
That's probably why it's built from it's like big names in film that have been in film, because, well, people have suggested them to me, or I've found them like organically, just because they're so, I don't know, loved. Which is why I was saying to you before.
Loved, like prolific. Like, those are the greats of the greats. It's like,
definitely.
Why wouldn't you love them?
Yeah, of course, yeah. It's probably going to look very different in a few years after I see each one of them, like, I don't know, 500 times. But who knows?
I mean, everybody's top 10 like, changes. There'll be like one or two that stick it through the test of time.
Definitely.
Yeah, everybody's top 10 will change.
Anyway, I think we've talked a lot about mine. I'm really interested to hear about yours, or just a bit about the general themes.
Yeah, sure. Is there any like film in particular you want to hear about, or
I've always
any
wondered
questions
about
you want to ask about them?
I know it's kind of going like straight to the point. Your top one. I've always kind of wondered about it because it sounds interesting. What was it? Oh, sorry. It sounds interesting. Let me just forget everything I was about to say.
Forget everything about it.
No,
the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford.
Yes, I was making a point about I was going to make a point about how he slowly goes, well, not insane, but he becomes more paranoid over the course of the film. You were saying, and I was wondering how, well, long that would be going on for. Sorry.
The film.
No. So just the whole paranoia and
that process. It's kind of essentially from the beginning. So, Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford is based upon the real life assassination or murder of Jesse James, who was quite a famous like outlaw in America in the like mid 1800s, like after the Civil War. And Robert Ford was an accomplice in his gang. So the film kind of starts with those two meeting and then follows them over the next couple of years until eventually Robert Ford kills Jesse James. And then the film continues after that and shows you like what the aftermath of this killing was like for Robert Ford and what he then did with it. The film kind of starts with Jesse James, who's played by Brad Pitt, rather brilliantly, in what seems to be quite a normal state, but then once you get a scene, there's a scene quite early on where the two main characters meet in Jesse James's garden, and he's picking up snakes that are in his garden. and
just your
he's like,
average, I don't know, gardening.
yeah, just your average
session.
gardening, bro. Yeah, but growing like weeds. No, he actually had a really weird way of doing it, which was he would go in barefoot and then using his feet would pick them up with his feet. I don't know why.
But a bit of a fucking masochist, but
Oh yeah, and like very dangerous. But he says like, oh, they're like really tasty if you like skin them and fry them.
Oh.
And then he turns to Robert Ford and says, you know, I give them names. And he's like, of what? And he says, of my enemies. And then he cuts their heads off.
Oh boy.
And like, that's your first sign that like, oh, this person's quite violent and quite nasty.
It's almost like a
And
threat. Like,
it really
this
feels
one's
that
called
way.
Robert Ford. Fucking
This
cuts
one's called
his
Robert
head off.
Ford. Like, it really feels that way, actually. And then as the film goes on, every time you meet up again with Jesse James, he's slowly getting more paranoid because he kind of knows that like the day of, you know, cowboys and bandits and all that stuff is coming to an end. So he kind of knows that like his days are numbered. If you've played the game Red Dead Redemption, it borrows quite a lot from this film. Like,
This
just
character's
straight up.
called Marston. Joe Marston.
It's not quite as close as that, but like the central themes are like identical.
Yeah.
But yeah, as he knows that like his days are numbered, he basically kind of starts to what starts off as like wanting to tie up loose ends descends into like, I need to kill this person in my gang because I'm pretty sure they're going to rat me out. And like we, the audience, and that character and the gang member know like that's not going to happen. This dude's just living on a farm, like trying to live his life. But the descent, it's not something you see like very slowly, like say a Breaking Bad.
Yeah. Breaking Bad's very slowly.
Yeah, very slowly. But then also because Walter White is the character that you're around the most. In Jesse James, you see him like once every few months in the timeline. And with each time, it's like he's at a new stage of his paranoia until he's like at his end's wits in the final kind of third of his life.
So it does take place along, like, well...
Oh, like over years. Yeah.
Which is really interesting because how do they keep that fresh and just not make it like, oh, I'm fucking terrified, is someone gonna shoot me? Ah, damn it.
Well, like it's not... the film doesn't try to like be overly dramatic. It's quite like understated and very slowly paced. Like it definitely has that feeling of like a big, grand old Western where a lot of the time is just people trying to like live their ordinary lives.
It sounds like the aftermath almost of like a Western movie or something, because you know you'd think you'd have like Brad Pitt robbing banks and stuff all movie and doing like a big heist.
It's actually quite funny you mention that because the opening scene of the film is the last robbery they do.
Cool.
It's a train robbery that is fucking amazing. Like it's just stunningly shot by Roger Deakins, and it's breathtakingly done. Like yeah, just the camera work and the lighting in that scene is fucking astonishing. But yeah, it opens with their last robbery, and then from there it's kind of the gang splitting and going to do their different things, and then kind of slowly realizing they can't quite escape this like violent life. Anything else you want to hear about in the top 10?
I was thinking I really wanted to ask about Tyrannosaur because I know you recommended it to me and I'm eager to watch it just because of how dark it was. But if you mentioned it was on your top 10 previously, I must have forgotten. So I was quite surprised to hear it was on your top 10 now. So I'd love to hear some more about it.
Yeah, no, well, so dear listener, like off the record, like me and Aaron both like films. We talk about them quite a lot. And in like a previous top 10, I'd mentioned films like Calvary and Maps to the Stars. And when I was writing this one, I kind of thought, well, I don't want to have both of those on. I'd rather have a film that kind of represents my love of like very intense dramas. And so I chose Tyrannosaur, which is written and directed by Paddy Considine, who's an actor, really good British actor. I think he's from Sheffield. And Tyrannosaur stars Peter Mullen and Olivia Colman.
Yeah, that's weird to think. Sorry, I was looking at the cover the other day when I was taking them out of my bag. And it's like, wait, Olivia Colman? Isn't she like all bubbly and funny and lovely?
Yeah. I was quite shocked by it as well, because before that I'd only ever seen her in The Peep Show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then this came out and I was like, fucking hell, Olivia Colman can act. Like, she can fucking act. She's fucking acting her socks off. And like, so is Peter Mullen, who's just like this Glaswegian legend in the acting scene. But Tyrannosaur is kind of like, to me, it's like this perfect indie film, and it's like the perfect kind of British new wave film. It is very much like a kitchen sink drama, but it is done with like this just such overwhelming sense of like anger and intensity. And Paddy Considine wrote the entire script in a week.
A week.
And and it must have been like a fucking bad week for him, because he just like let everything out in there. But it's an incredibly like grim, somber, really upsetting, really unsettling drama about domestic abuse. And it's kind of about these two characters who meet each other, who are, one is like a perpetrator of violence and is just like angry, an alcoholic, all this kind of stuff, Peter Mullen, and then Olivia Colman, who is the victim of abuse. And he's very much working class, she's very much middle class. And the drama is essentially about them kind of gravitating towards each other and trying to become better people because of each other. It is like relentlessly grim, but it, to me, is like the perfect example of what you can do with a very small cast, a very small crew, and a small budget, as long as you have like an excellent script and people who can just act their socks off. Like, it feels like a film made by somebody who is like a master and has just been confident in their craft for, decades, but it was the guy's first film.
Really? Oh, cool.
Yeah, first film. And he'd been an actor before that, and had worked on a lot of films, so he'd obviously been around film sets and stuff before, but like it comes with like just this such like an overwhelming presence that you feel that this person must have just been honing their craft for decades. Yeah. It's really fantastic, but it is relentlessly grim.
I must ask, why is it called Tyrannosaur? It sounds kind of besides the point. But
there's kind of a plot reason for it.
Is it spoilery? Because I won't ask anymore if it is.
It's not spoilery in the sense of like it gives away a plot detail, but one of the characters in the film gave the nickname Tyrannosaur to somebody, and when they tell somebody about why they gave that nickname, it reveals like a lot about who they were as a person. Cool. And it kind of reveals another side to them.
Yeah. It's not just like a throwaway.
It's not just a throwaway line. I won't go into detail about it, but it kind of makes you come away from it being like, man, you're a cunt.
Yeah. Wow, there's dinosaur bones in my backyard. Wow.
Yeah, no, people actually got really pissed off in the cinema and left and demanded refunds because they saw the poster, which is of dinosaur bones underneath somebody's garden, and they came up being like, there's no dinosaurs in this film, it's about domestic abuse, and got really angry and demanded their money back.
I heard about like a similar story. Have you heard of the film It Comes at Night?
I recognize the name.
It was fairly recent, like I think it was like mid 2017 or so, but it was marketed almost, or the trailer showed it off to be a horror film, so a lot of people went in and demanded their money back when they found out it was just a really fucking depressing film, especially towards the end. Like, where with the title It Comes at Night, you think, oh, there's like monsters or something in this that come at night, oh, they're gonna like try and kill our protagonists or whatever. But no, apparently it's like a thing for paranoia.
Marketing can fuck up a film so much.
But hey, money.
Yeah, hey, money. Anything else you want to ask about the top 10?
Sure. I just other than Tyrannosaur and how dark it was, I think your top 10 kind of has like I don't want to say like every single film on it is dark.
Is what, sorry?
Dark, or has some sort of like dark theme omnipresent, but I don't know.
I think there's an argument to be made for that. Like, I think like saying that the dark almost kind of undercuts it a bit because like quite a lot of time when people say dark, it just means like, oh, it's a bit like gritty or a bit violent or, you know, like it does like nasty things. Like a lot of my top 10 do have like nasty themes running through them. So like, for example, Waltz with Bashir is an animated documentary about soldiers in the Israeli army during their war with... I should remember this. This is bad. Iran in the 1970s. And like that is a film about soldiers who are trying to like uncover these like traumatic memories that they have of a war. It's like that is a very dark theme, but it's not just, you know, gritty and dark and violent. It is a film about people coming to terms with terrible things that they have done in a war. And that's the same for the other documentary on my list, which is the second film on my top 10, Fog of War. That is a film about Robert McNamara, the former Defense Secretary of the United States, looking back over his career and trying to figure out what lessons someone else who's in charge of the military could learn from his mistakes.
That one stuck in my mind just because of, well, they managed to get a fucking someone who was already or was previously in the military, who has great power, coming out about, well, I mean, something as massive and as gargantuan as war itself, nuclear weapons.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, like the line from a film that I always remember is I think the human race needs to think more about killing. The conventional wisdom is you don't make the same mistakes twice. With nuclear weapons, you don't get to make that same mistake. Like one mistake and you wipe out entire nations. So like it's definitely a film that asks you, the viewer, to think of incredibly grim and quite horrible things, but it does it in a way that's quite profound and philosophical. And like, yeah, like, you know, Lady Vengeance is also like quite a dark film. It literally does end in a scene that is torture porn, but it does it in a way that is again like quite profound and says something more. The point of that like incredibly violent scene isn't for you, the viewer, to gain pleasure out of the violence or to gain entertainment. It's to look at the people performing those acts of violences and feel sick. Like, actually, now I've said it, that is kind of a running through line with a lot of mine. Is quite a few of these films are about examining acts of violence. It's like, you know, you have Fog of War, literally about how do you give orders in a war that result in hundreds of thousands of deaths. You've got Waltz with Bashir, which is soldiers trying to come to terms with what they do. You know, Lady Vengeance. Jesse James is all about the kind of the repercussions of violence, how you deal with the aftermath of it. You know, All the President's Men, domestic violence. There is like a running through line with that of characters or the filmmakers examining violence and figuring out either why somebody did it or what they can learn from it, or they're asking the viewer to think on a deeper level about what kind of violence they believe is acceptable, either in real life or in their entertainment.
So do you think the reason why you have these films on your top 10 list and regard them so highly is because they require you to think more about them and the themes in the film, the themes that the writer or the director...
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't see the point in being interested in like an art form and not wanting it to push you in some way or ask you to examine things in some way.
Of course, yeah. I think that's one of the reasons why I fucking hate some of the films that come out now. As much as I do enjoy Marvel films and stuff, I kind of feel bad for going to see them sometimes because, I mean, hey, look, I'm just supporting Disney, you know, bringing out these movies, sometimes very good, but I mean, ultimately...
Yeah, like there's nothing wrong with like mainstream entertainment. Like I spent ages writing this list thinking like, man, I really want to put Total Recall on this. Like I fucking love that film. Or like Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh yes, brilliant.
Or, yeah, you know, like just kind of like stuff like that, like pulpy, dumb, fun stuff. Because I fucking love all those types of films, you know. But like like I absolutely do love his films, and if this was, which film would I want to go and sit down and just watch? Those kind of films would win, like by an absolute mile. Like I would happily go and watch Top Gun.
Fair enough,
more than I would go and watch like Hunger.
Yeah, like, that makes sense. I definitely see where you're coming from. Like that stuff, you can kind of sit down and enjoy it. You don't need to think too hard about it. You don't need to come away from it and think, oh fuck, mankind's doomed, or oh no, we're awful people. Or like entertainment, like mass entertainment, or like pulpy entertainment films can still have like incredible points to make. Just because I've mentioned films with him a couple of times, like Paul Verhoeven made like RoboCop, and RoboCop is this like very fun pulpy sci-fi 80s action film, but it is also a film about like Cold War paranoia and authoritarian police methods and like corporate corruption. Like all that stuff is underlying in the film, but it's still a film about just like, here's a cool RoboCop and he's going to shoot some bad guys. Definitely. I mean, I suppose if a film kind of like arguably Black Panther, like
I mean, like that very directly tries to tackle some pretty big. It doesn't like directly tackle them, but it brings up big themes.
If you can if you can satisfy, I don't know, those looking for more in a film, like not just explosions, characters, and this, that, and the other, and silly shit. Like I don't know, lines for millennials. Like what are those?
Yeah.
Then that's another plus side. It's not just dumb entertainment, but it's entertainment
totally
done well.
I think like a really good example of that is something else as well. Actually, it's like neither of us really have like big blockbusters on our lists.
No, I mean I'm guessing like a lot of Kubrick's films come out and like no one sees them, and then like a few years go by and everyone likes them, which is weird.
Yeah, but I mean like we don't have
Transformers 5.
Yeah, like nothing like that.
Avengers
or like even
Infinity
like
War.
like Jaws or whatever. But just talking about like mass entertainment and like the deeper themes. Like I think a good example of that would be something like, say, Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy.
Oh yeah.
Which like if you look at it, you can very easily start to read Batman as like a metaphor for like the George W. Bush era in American politics.
That's interesting.
I mean, like you can quite easily like trace how his reaction to like crime and threats is tied into like an American kind of post 9/11 paranoia.
I kind of get what you mean, especially in the Dark Knight.
His two parents get shot. He then goes to a foreign land and comes back with the idea that you need to be ruthless and violent with your reaction to possible threats. You then militarize yourself, spending billions of research money on new weapons and ways to fight this new criminal investigation. And when you come up against your adversaries in the next films, they are people who represent a collapse of your society as you use technology which allows you to use everybody's cell phone to spy on them at all times. And then you go into the third film where the adversary is is somebody who attacks your economic system, collapses it, and then tries to reinstate a socialist/anarchist revolution.
Lovely.
It's very much a metaphor for George W. Bush. But it's also a film about a man who dresses up as a bat.
Yeah, I mean, I must be like part of the dumb minority because I was just like, oh look, Bane. Like he's talking funny, it's cool, and he's like punching Batman. Oh fuck, his spine's gone.
I represent the collapse of your economy.
Brilliant. It's Batman, like,
You'll never catch me, Dick Cheney.
Oh, brilliant. I really need to examine the Dark Knight trilogy a bit more and stop being like, explosions. In fairness, I did see them years ago.
There's always something more to a film. Like, nobody ever just makes a film. Yeah. Like, there's always a feeling behind it, or... Yeah, or like money. No, like there's always like something deeper going on behind them. Like there always is. Either like subversive or political commentary, or there's a philosophy at the heart of it. There's always something. Like even though it was poorly done, like even fucking Batman versus Superman had like an underlying Batman Turns Up Again, but like even that film had like an underlying philosophical battle at the heart of it.
I think it wasn't necessarily even done badly. It's just the fact that a lot of people don't exactly like seeing Superman, tearing out Batman's heart and dream sequences or God knows what else.
It happened in the comics.
Oh well. But I mean, come on! I want the corny Superman back, like kind of like points to a child, do your homework or something like that. Like
you should watch the 70s Batman films.
Oh yeah, I have. They're brilliant.
Oh good.
They're
they're
classic.
fantastic.
They play like the Superman theme like every 5 minutes. It's brilliant. Then you have like Man of Steel, like fucking like hundreds of thousands of deaths, I guess. In New York,
Well, I mean, like that film very much, like that is very much a like remember 9/11 kind of moment.
Yeah, but
here's some buildings falling down. This American hero is the only one who can save it. Like
I still enjoyed Man of Steel, not in the same way that I did the corny Superman heroes. The corny Superman of the 70s. In fact, I would even say I prefer the old corny films, but still I think some of the action was well done. It was definitely a lot darker than
totally like I really like the first like 2/3 of Man of Steel. Where it's just about this guy like traveling America trying to figure out what he wants to do. Like I really like that.
Yeah, and just some of the more like powerful moments is just him like jumping and fucking flying up and just like, oh, my dad's dead, but what do I do now? Do I just help these people? They all hate me and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, I think that film does an alright job of having like a central conflict in its character.
Yeah.
But like ultimately it just kind of collapses into smashing shit.
Yeah. And
that they then have to fucking red flag as the series goes on.
Yeah, they try to downplay like Superman being like super dark in the next few films, although I haven't seen Justice League, but I heard they kind of like
it's trash.
Yeah, they tried to make up for some of the backlash, but
they did it in the dumbest fucking way possible. Like, don't worry, like that. Don't even bother seeing that film. It's fucking stupid.
I didn't even know. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but
don't. There's no spoilers. It looks cheap. It's cheap.
Despite having like a $400 million budget.
Yep. It's honestly, it's fucking awful. Like, it's fucking awful. It's incredibly boring. Don't watch it. It's fucking bad.
Ooh.
Do you know what isn't bad? Our top 10 list.
Go and watch every single one of them, and then donate to our Patreon that doesn't exist.
Yeah, we don't have a Patreon. We should. We'll talk about that maybe later.
Yeah, give us a few weeks. We'll have something.
Give us a few weeks. Yeah. But something else. Just about like my top 10, and I'm wondering if it's the same for you, is when I look at my top 10, I can see quite a lot of just kind of my general interests in life reflected back in it.
Yeah, actually, now that you mentioned that's sorry, continue.
Yeah, sorry. So just like it's like, for example, like 6 of the films on my top 10 are all historical films, or films that take place in the past, or like examine the past in some way. And like I love history, like I studied it in school, and ever since then it's been near and dear to my heart. And then the others are like sci-fi films, or very quite existential. It's like Hunger and Andrei Rublev are both extraordinarily existential films. The only one that like stands out apart from all that is like Aeroplane.
Yeah,
just because
Aeroplane's wildly. I've heard so much about it. I've not actually seen it.
Oh, for fuck's
I was
sake,
thinking of actually downloading it on my phone, taking it with me on the
surely
airplane.
You can't be serious.
I was thinking of watching Airplane on an airplane.
Surely you can't be serious.
I'm guessing that's some sort of reference, which I will probably find out.
It's one of the funniest jokes told in cinema history.
God damn it! I will see it, I'm sure.
Is it actually? Now I'm thinking about this a bit more. The other thing I've kind of noticed about my top 10 is that I haven't actually like represented the genres that I really love, if that makes sense. Like if someone was to ask me what my favorite genres of films were, I would say they were science fiction and they were thrillers. I only have 2 sci-fis on this list, and I only have 2 thrillers.
But maybe it's because of the message the films actually carry, as opposed to the genre.
Yeah, or like an overlying, no, not even atmosphere, because there's definitely lots of atmospheric stuff in thrillers that I absolutely love. Is there a genre that's like missing from yours? Is there a type of film that you really like to watch that isn't in there?
Potentially action. Like maybe you could.
Oh yeah, fuck! I don't have any shit.
But then again, I think action can be kind of like not necessarily dumb, but
like it can quite often be like throwaway.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, big explosion, cool. That was awesome to watch. Like, say for example, Mad Max Fury Road. I could sit down and watch that like right after this podcast. It's such a great movie to like. It's visually, it's amazing. But it's not. It doesn't like pose a question. Like, it's not like I don't know, someone blows up like a building with thousands of people on it, and then like that kind of.
I mean, again, like that's a thing where Mad Max does have a shit ton of interesting like social political stuff going on it. Like that film is a like full on. Like that entire film is about like the matriarchy coming to take possession of women.
It is
like
interesting.
That is a film
respect.
about women breaking free from control of men.
I was thinking more about people fucking jumping into cars wielding like 2 spears.
Oh yeah, like that's like 90% of the film. but
then again,
there's like this 10% underneath it.
Then again, you could argue that they're doing that because it kind of echoes like suicide bombers in real life. They think that they're going to, where is it again? Like just fucking car heaven or something.
Oh yeah, no, I mean there is that whole the what's it called?
Shiny and chrome. Like
yeah, all shiny and chrome.
Valhalla. They mentioned Valhalla.
Oh, that's such a fucking great visual though. I fucking love the way people in Mad Max talk about cars. Like it's so religious.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like shiny and chrome, and
love it. Shiny and chrome.
Brilliant.
Today's a beautiful day. Fuck, I should watch that film again.
It's one of my friend's favorite films, and he's seen it countless times. Like,
should be.
Yeah, but it is a great.
It's
film.
fucking brilliant. Good on George Miller for making it.
I know, right? Just going back to like, I don't know, what you were saying about some of your, I don't know, interests and things you think about in real life being incorporated into your top 10s. Definitely with my favourite film of all time, 2001. I don't like speaking about it or anything because I don't want to sound like just a cunt, but I think about like just some of the life in general. I know it's quite broad just to say life in general, but
it's like often. Where will you go? Where will you progress to?
No, just the nature of existence. Like, say for example, say for example, you could be in a simulation and I might not exist, and everything is deliberately purposed to be very real to you. You know, like say for example, the stuff behind you isn't even processed. It's just until you turn around and
bloody Ubisoft games.
Definitely, you're in a Ubisoft simulation, but you know.
Oh no, I've got to climb that tower.
Oh wow! But it wouldn't really make a difference to you if you were in a simulation. Imagine if that went on for the rest of your entire life, or you didn't know. You know, what difference would it make? Or let's say I don't know, we were actually aliens, but we did. Oh fuck! I'm kind of going insane here, but.
Yeah, no, it's the existential question of like, what is our existence and what does it mean?
Exactly.
You're asking the philosophical point,
which is
you should really watch Solaris. Then.
Yes, I should. Someone else recommended that to me I think it was 2 or 3 months ago. One of my mum's friends actually, and it was like, oh, I've got a friend called Ralph. He mentioned it to me on this podcast. But
wait, one of your mum's friends likes Solaris?
Yeah.
Give him my number. We should hang out.
He likes a lot of good films, actually.
I've made a good friend.
He suggested 12 Angry Men to me before I watched it, and I was like, oh,
brilliant.
It's a great film. But yeah, 2001, that's one of the reasons why I like the end segment, like, the fourth act out of all the fourth segment out of all the others, because just some of the existential stuff it puts forward, more than like the iconic Hal stuff. Although that does have like a lot of existential stuff in it. Like I was talking about how Hal kind of like manipulates Dave, or well, it could be viewed as that. What else? I wouldn't say The Big Lebowski is I don't know, puts a question for anything.
But yeah, that maybe doesn't have existential.
I just think it's this weird fucking goose chase, and it makes me feel good on days where I just lounge about in my dressing gown and don't do anything productive.
Hey man, if a film makes you good, that's good enough.
Yeah, definitely. Darker films as well, because people hate them. Well, no, sorry, the casual audience hates them.
No, I mean,
I'm kidding.
I mean, like, look at like every like fucking action film and thriller from like since like Jason Bourne. Like they've all become darker and more grittier.
Yeah, but
like that's one of the reasons people like say the Marvel films stand out is because they're just like this flash of color and light in modern cinema or like modern mainstream cinema.
Yeah. Like it's kind of come full circle for me, because now I kind of look back fondly on some of the old action, like some of the old James Bond films, where it's strange because he's always immaculately dressed and he holds his gun very like specifically, and it's like, oh, I just shot someone, and I can still go out for like a martini.
Yeah. It's the thing of I mean, like that's the thing is like your cinema of the time always represents the society of the time, or like it reflects back on it. And cinema of the 60s and 70s, well, especially the 60s, was always like very lavish and colourful, and it was swinging and it was opulent. It was a grand time to be alive. And then cinema now is just like the credit crash happened, there's a constant war of terrorism, like everything's fucked. It's just kind of the general vibe. Who was it? He was fuck, I forgot his name. It's the Greek philosopher.
Homer? No.
No. It's a dude who's still alive.
Oh wait, what?
No, it's a dude who's still alive. No, not like Socrates or anything. He hasn't lived for like 2,000 years.
Yeah, I'm still about to say.
No.
Sorry, I don't know why.
No. I can't remember his name. It's fuck. It's really bad. He's super famous. But yeah, he has a quote that I really like, which is, "It's easier to imagine the end of a world than a fundamental change in capitalism." And like that's kind of this overlying feeling that permeates our society right now, and then permeates our art right now, is just there's this like feeling of an end of progression, or like that things are going to come to an head in some way. Like you don't even have to look, like you just have to look at the news for like 5 minutes and you come away from it with a feeling of we're totally fucking doomed. So like all of our films have become more nihilistic, and James Bond became more nihilistic. All of our heroes became grittier and dirtier and less glamorous. Like
I was like kind of what
like
I was saying.
Wolverine, Logan last year is fucking.
But Logan was done well.
Hero.
Look at some of the DC stuff.
Extremely well. But like that's a hero who was this kind of like an anti-hero and like a bit rough, but still was like cool. And now he's just like this old fucking grizzled man who's like, I just want to die.
Yeah.
Like it's a very like grim turnaround for that hero. And then video games as well, like Kratos and God of War and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think I don't know why people think people up in Hollywood think doing dark for everything is necessarily better. Like that, like some of my favorite movies are really dark.
Name one.
No Country for Old Men.
That's not dark.
Pretty fucking dark, I'd say.
It's just tension. It's filled with violence. It's not dark.
His wife gets like fucking murdered, and you don't even see it, which is arguably worse than actually watching her being like fucking shot in the stomach or whatever. Oh fuck!
Yeah,
sorry,
it's letting your hopes of not see it time of him, and it gets you in the gut. Like sure, that's a bit grim, but it's not fucking Son of Saul or
still need to see that. It's on my list.
Or like Ellie or anything.
I mean, I suppose there's different like forms of dark. I think some of the worst ones are best, the ones that are the most real.
Come back to me when you've watched anything by Gaspar Noé.
I can't say I've heard of him.
His films are weird.
All the better then.
You've seen Drive, right?
Drive. No, I've not
The
seen.
Nicholas Winding Refn film.
I've heard of it. I've not actually seen it.
Oh, Jesus, Aaron. Okay, well, the example I was going to give doesn't work. There's a scene in that film where somebody gets their head caved in, and the head caved in, and
lovely.
Nicholas Winding Refn, I can never say his name properly, went to Gaspar Noé and was like, "You're the perfect person to ask. How do I perfectly simulate somebody's skull getting crushed?" He's that kind of director of those kind of films. They're very...
That's awesome.
Very strange.
That's cool. That's brilliant.
I don't know if it's cool. It's very dark.
It's cool. That's awesome.
No, it's very much not cool.
That's awesome. Like, I mean,
Drive drips with style, but it gets to some mean places.
also, who would you go to ask how would you properly cave in someone's skull, or what would it look like?
Gaspar Noé.
Oh, I see. I need to really look this guy up. Need to maybe ask him a few tips on caving people's skulls in.
Or just watch The Raid if you want to see some very grim out there violence. If you want to watch a properly dark film, watch 4 months, 3 weeks and 2 days. Now that's a dark film.
I think I've heard of that. Correct me if I'm wrong, is that something to do with the end of the world? No.
Very much not that.
No, my bad.
I'll leave that one as a mystery.
No, I'm thinking of Donnie Darko because there's something...
That's very different.
Yeah, my bad. It's because there's a scene where, what was it, he mentions like the end of the world, and it's like, number of days, number of hours, number of minutes, number of seconds.
Right, yeah. No, we've been going on for a little while, so to wrap this up, I'm going to just kind of pose one last thing, which is the things that are missing from both of our top 10s. And I kind of thought about this when I was building up my list. It's like you can very much tell that we are people who watch films from like the UK. Like our film choices kind of line up with kind of the films that are available here. You know?
Well, I mean, some of the core British films, like, they're not too popular. I mean, even over here.
Not even too popular, but like outside of like a few exceptions of world cinema in like my list, we don't have much about that. And something I've noticed is that none of our films are directed by like a woman. And I was kind of thinking about this because like I love directors like Lynn Ramsey. I love Catherine Bigelow. But even though I love films like We Need to Talk About Kevin or Detroit or even like Point Break, they haven't made my top 10. And I was wondering, is this something to do with either A, the kind of films that we are exposed to, or is it B, a reflection upon like the dire state of the film industry, where it is predominantly just like American dude or British dude who are mostly white who make films. Like I believe the BFI did a study last year and found that 91% of films released in the UK were directed by a man last year.
I mean, I wonder. It's very interesting because, like, there's no clear-cut answer. There's not like one. There's not like a whole group of people constantly turning down or plotting against women. Maybe in some specific circumstances, but there's not.
There is. They're called Trump supporters.
Yeah. But I wouldn't say there's like a every single person who works in the industry are against women. Like what? Actually, one of the films I was really close to actually putting on my top 10 was The Matrix. But still, that's only
with Wachowskis.
Yeah. But that was
Wachowski's great. Shit, I should have put on Cloud Atlas. Oh well,
still need to
see that next time.
I still need to see that.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. But yeah, like there are plenty of like amazing female directors. Like you've obviously got people, like Sofia Coppola. Like Lost in Translation again is another one of my absolute favorite films.
Cool.
But with directors like that, it's Hollywood almost treats them like they're not even just Hollywood, but the film industry treats them like an exception. And then, for example, as well, neither of us really have that many films that you could say are directed by somebody like of color. Like the only one for me is Hunger with Steve McQueen. He's the only like black director in my top 10 list. And yeah, like Lady Vengeance is directed by, you know, somebody from Korea, and you know, there's a film there from Israel and stuff like that. But like in the British film industry and in the American film industry, a lot of the time when you see these top 10 lists made, they tend to focus around the same type of people making the same types of films.
I think it could be, it definitely could be argued, but then again, I think there's so much unexplored potential, and even though it sounds very cynical and capitalistic, profit in movies made by these people from different areas and creeds and colour. Like, take for example Black Panther, with its predominantly black cast. It's
everyone except for Andy Serkis and Martin Freeman.
Exactly. It's absolutely, it's practically stole money at the box office. It's a massive hit, and it was almost treated like a race movement. And I definitely what was it?
I mean, it's a film that very much was about celebration and announcing that like American, definitely not like African culture. That film represents African culture in such a fucking stupid way. But like an African American culture, saying that we can be part of this blockbuster movement, we can make films, we can be here as well, which is like more than valid when you actually look at like the number of black directors in Hollywood who are just ignored or don't get their characters put on screen, with exceptions of people like Spike Lee. But then saying, well, American Hollywood has great black directors, we have our friend Spike Lee, isn't exactly like a good look.
No.
Like we should say that like in the indie scenes, like there's way more opportunity for anyone anywhere to make films. But like in terms of like big mainstream cinema, or not even mainstream but like recognizable cinema, which is what predominantly top 10 lists get made of, you're gonna get saddled with quite a lot of the same directors.
It's an interesting thought process, because I've definitely heard the statistics, at least by the BFI before. What was it about? 91% of directors being male. So I honestly, I don't know. I'm dumbfounded about it. I don't want to say anything out of turn or anything. Like, oh, women are lazy. They can direct a picture if they wanted to. Smoke cigar, puts feet up on table. But
I mean, it's kind of a Hollywood attitude.
Yeah.
No, like as of the Oscars of this year, I believe only 5 women have been nominated for Best Director in the whole history of the Oscars.
Jesus.
Which is fucking ridiculous.
See, this is why I don't want to say anything out of turn or anything bad. I'll always judge a film on a film, on its merits as a film. That's probably one of the reasons why. That is one of the reasons why I didn't enjoy Black Panther as much as some other people.
Yeah.
I'm all for equal opportunities. Like, if you genuinely want to make a film with a $1 million budget or whatever, I think you should have that opportunity. If you've worked hard and you've been in the industry for ages, you shouldn't be denied it just because you're female or you're black or you're some other form of minority in this case. So
it's a case. It's like, if a good film is a good film, a bad film is a bad film. You shouldn't rate anything higher or lower just because of the person who made it.
Exactly, yeah.
But what does need to happen is, if our top 10 list, if our favorite films are to change and the audience's favorite films are to change and to become richer and more varied, then the film industry needs to actually examine itself and stop just providing opportunities for a certain type of people. It's like, for example, just like one final point before we wrap up, in again, BFI, who are, pretty much like the be all and end all of like, film academia. They studied the British film and television industries and found that over 60% of the people who work in those industries went to a private school.
Really?
And they went to a very select, small section of private schools. An issue that the art industry in the UK especially faces is that its selection pool is extremely small. And a lot of that is just to do with, we went to college together, there's a job opportunity, come work for us, you're a friend. Mm. A lot of it is that kind of thing. That needs to be changed so that people who are outside of these normal bubbles can get into these industries, can make films in this industry, but then also, again, pointing back to Black Panther, the people marketing that film knew that the audience it was intended for would, react to it incredibly positively. So they marketed the film and made it entirely for an African American audience. Mm. And because of that, it did extremely successful. I hope that film, and then, a film like Wonder Woman will show that people... it did exceptionally well, financially. And I hope that when distributors and big studios start to see that these films can be extremely financially successful, that they have these large audiences, they will then let people from the indie film industry, women, people of color, all this kind of stuff, come in to make films on that grand stage. And then what we would consider, our classic directors, 10 years down the road, that might change, and it will be a more diverse, because of that, a more interesting and varied selection of films.
Yeah, it could usher in a whole new era of cinema, which could be interesting considering I think we have a shared opinion that films are quite similar and safe today for financial reasons and stuff. Mm-hmm. But with the technology today, I think that films would be very unique and different all the time, even some of the more mainstream ones. But CGI explosion here,
they've stalled in their progression. But you know who hasn't stalled in our progression of cinema?
Yeah.
Us. So what are we going to do after this, Aaron? We're going to go and watch some bloody good films.
I was going to go to bed, but yeah.
It's only fucking 7:30.
I need to get up early tomorrow. It's
fair enough.
Since I'm going abroad, I won't be able to join you for the next Munch media. Unfortunately.
That's okay. We'll just do impressions of you again.
Oh God, no! Please, God, no.
It's really nice here in Croatia.
Oh God.
That's something actually. When you're in Croatia, just go to a random DVD shop and just get a bunch of DVDs.
I should actually. I might find a masterpiece, and I could go find the person who made it and be like, "Hey, I'm a totally hip Hollywood dude."
I don't think Croatia's like that small. It's not Iceland. You're not going to be like, "Oh, it's Dave from around the corner."
Oh yeah, it's really weird how we're in the same hotel, even though you live here and you've inexplicably checked into a hotel for a week. Hi, how are you doing?
We're both at the Cannes Film Festival. Crazy.
That might be a really cool idea. I will look out for films, foreign films over there.
Yeah, do it, man. Just how just go into a DVD shop and then just pick up a bunch of stuff based upon the fucking cover art.
I just hope that they have subtitles, but
yeah, sure.
Fingers crossed. Wait a second, this is porn. Fuck.
I'm sure. Oh, that would be hilarious if you did that. I think before we sign off, just so our listeners have a bunch of films they can go and check out, why don't we rattle off our top 10s again?
Yes, certainly. Would you like to go first this time?
You go ahead.
Certainly. Right, let me just get up. So, starting from my number 10, No Country for Old Men. Number 9, The Bridge on the River Kwai. Number 8, Spirited Away. Number 7, The Big Lebowski. Number 5, Vertigo. No, wait. Did I miss my 6 again? Holy
You missed
fuck.
your 6 again.
Sorry. Number 6, Vertigo. Number 5, Casablanca. Number 4, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. Number 3, 12 Angry Men. Number 2, The Shining. And number 1, 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Go and watch all those films, people.
Yes,
go and watch all of them.
We don't want you to do anything. We don't want you to eat, sleep, breathe to some extent. until you've seen all 20 of these films. And
Exactly.
in the order
And-
you list them off in.
in the exact order. And my top 10, starting at number 10, Alien, number 9, Waltz with Bashir, number 8, Hunger, number 7, Aeroplane, number 6, Lady Vengeance, number 5, Tyrannosaur, number 4, All the President's Men, number 3, cheatingly Solaris / Andrei Rublev, number 2, The Fog of War, and number 1, The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford.
Nice, awesome. Great, and on that note, we will be signing off. My mic is beeping because it's dying. I'm also dying to a lesser extent. We're all dying. Why don't we die together?
That's a fucking grim note to end on.